Now we have a few minutes. In fact, we have plenty of time, but I think what I'll do is I'll see how much interest there is in discussion, and if people want to discuss, we'll discuss as long as you want. Otherwise, we'll take an earlier coffee break and we'll get into all the other substantive discussions. Now, you heard the two presentations. Is there anybody this early in the morning ready to ask some questions? Or, right, thank you. And we'll get a microphone straight away to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Hermann, especially really interesting points that you made. I think there's lots still to be done. Sorry, I'm Natasha Meyer at University of Leeds. My area of interest is HMI, human factors, and I'd like your comment regarding HMI standardisation. And I said, you said, I know there isn't much interest from the OEMs, but we need this to happen. So what are we doing on that front? And what are the discussions that are being had on that front? And I feel that it's not really a European matter. It's all over the world. You know, all manufacturers need to at least think about it. But if that doesn't happen, like you say, I think we can do as much research as we like, but it's not going to take us forward.
I mean, I don't want to speak now for the OEMs here. What I was referring to was a certain reluctance on this topic maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I think there is now already a lot of learning on this topic, especially in the context of the importance of
the trans-European network sense is very different than automation in a city sense. And I think it would be short-sighted to start to mix too many different messages when we're selling this topic. The one thing I would also react to, Colette said this is industry-driven. I have some concerns there because, without being too provocative, that may have been one of the problems with a lot of ITS issues. You know, this should be pulled by society, informed by industry, informed by technology, but unless society is pulling, then I'm afraid there is always going to be resistance to implementing new things. I mean, you know, in my sector, very, very conservative, we're not going to implement this. And I think my final comment is reacting on what was also said, the comparisons with the US. I think Hermann's exactly right to say one key advantage the US is to a large extent they have the same language. If we look at Europe, it's not a question of lack of regulations, it's not a question of lack of common specifications, I would say, because I've been in dozens and dozens of meetings where authorities don't even know what's written in the specifications. They're always being caught out, or the specifications aren't being updated quickly enough. So I would really hesitate to go down that route. It's not about more regulations. It's about finding a framework, and I'm sure Hermann and his colleagues can come up with some clever ideas about how to do this, and they already have. It's not about more specifications, it's about building the networks and improving that communication.
Well, thank you very much. I think that's an important point about an environment to encourage also innovation and to encourage the entrance of new companies into it. And you'd be a little bit afraid that if you left everything to existing actors, then they will build a wall around new entrants and so on. So I think that's where you're leading as well. But maybe it is interesting, Colette, is it possible, I don't know if it's possible, to have some kind of frameworks rather than detailed legislative things? Because if you want to have a level playing field, it will take years, like we said with the trucks and other things. So a perfectly level playing field is impossible. So can you have a playing field that maybe is a little bit bumpy, but at least it gives the kind of broad framework, rules for how things will work. And so if we had a framework, for example, on how, let's take the taxi profession, how taxis might work, then perhaps we wouldn't have all this trouble with Uber. We'd say, these are the kind of rules of the game we want for taxis, and let's just have this kind of framework, and then we can work within the framework, but that it's not every detail specified, but it's some sort of broad level. Maybe the Commission and Europe can make some contributions in that kind of a way. I think that's partially what you're saying, sir, isn't it? Well, maybe I'm putting my spin on it, but thank you.
Okay. I think we would much prefer to, and we will always go for having a framework rather than legislation. That's certainly the case. And I think that is also why we've asked the industries now to sit together and to try and agree on certain things themselves, and just to come forward to the Commission to help out with issues that where they feel that we need to intervene. But a lot of the issues around automation, including related to data, for example, could simply work if we have a framework in place. Why would we need legislation for that? And it would probably take way too long if we start talking about legislation there. But we do need then the industry to come forward with proposals on how that will work, or could work.
No, I would like to come back to the comment from Steve, maybe, which also echoed a bit your comment, Jacques, that we should not be too complicated. Yeah, that we see already all these challenges and how we fix it. I also believe that we need a very pragmatic approach. And if now the next step is track platooning, we should not shy away from implementing something like this, because we have a bigger picture for the future, which is much more complicated. I think that a large part of my presentation was a bit also in the context of anticipation. Yeah? And with respect to anticipation, I think we have to see automation in a larger picture. And to be successful in the future market, I would advise companies to think and to develop their strategy and their roadmap in the context of this bigger picture. I very much believe that we move from a business focusing on assets, I think it was also mentioned yesterday by Roland Berger, from assets to services. I think this is the future. And there, when I look also at the Congress which we had 2 weeks ago in Bordeaux, you know, 3 or 4 years ago, when I was at conferences like this, everybody was talking about where is the business case. Nobody is talking about where is the business case anymore. I think everybody is panicking. And everybody is panicking because they look at the niche in this market for themselves in the future, and they don't understand where the market is going, and they don't know if their niche is still available in 2 or 3 years. I think that is currently the situation, and the main worry is not about technical things. Yeah? The main worry is more about where does the business move, and I think the business will move very, very quickly, and there we have to learn in Europe. Yeah, so for me, it's much less a technical issue than a business issue. And in this context, we have really to understand and to develop also the approach on automation in the context of the overall developments. That I find very important for Europe. And there, I believe we need both. We need leadership from the policy side on all levels. European level, national level, regional level, local level. I believe also cities will be very, very important for the future of mobility. We have to work more and more also with cities. So there we need political leadership, and we certainly also need leadership from the private side. If we bring these two sides together, I think we can be successful. But especially Europe needs it because it has 28 member states. I'm not negative in the context of fragmentation, yeah, because I see that it's obvious when you have 28 member states, yeah, if you came together in a peaceful process, yeah, things are more complicated. But therefore we also need more leadership.
Yes, indeed. I agree with all of that, but I think there are still many practical difficulties, of course. I wouldn't underestimate, I mean, that it's a very nice thing to say that we're moving away from a kind of an asset-rich kind of a sector to a one that's going to be concerned only with the services. But we must remember transport is a big asset, it's a huge asset. And the infrastructure and all we have built up in the transport system has cost society and governments a lot of money over a long time, and it's an expensive system to run it sustainably. It's going to cost a lot of money. So there's going to still need to be a lot of investment in our transport system. And I guess the private companies that are going to try and run this new mobility services maybe are not ready to do it. So just a little BML, as you say, or whatever, to that issue that you also need heavy investment in our transport.
Yeah, but my comment is not related to the fact that the assets will disappear. The assets will be there will be more assets, but they will be part of the service. And you have to see them in the context of being part of the service. And I think this everybody is doing. Also the infrastructure operators, they think more and more about services. The vehicle manufacturers think more and more about services. This is the future.
Okay, I have no disagreement with that. Okay, is there anything else anybody else would like to raise in this rather general discussion? Because I think we will have many opportunities in the rest of the day to go into the more detail and perhaps the more narrow focus of the presentation that will allow you to think a bit broader as well. Is there anybody else who would like to come in at this stage? Well, what I suggest we do then is that we take a coffee break now for 15 minutes and we advance the rest of the agenda and give us more time to discuss the other details a bit later on. So could I just thank Hermann and Colette for coming along, and thank you for your participation, and we'll see you back here in 15 or 20 minutes. Okay, thank you.